Welcome to this special broadcast on film festivals behind the scenes. Two eminent guests joining us to take forward what exactly is the need of cinema, or for that matter, festivals for cinema, or festivals that celebrate cinema in today's times. Two eminent guests, as we mentioned, taking this discussion forward. Dr. Bhuvan Lal, who is an organizer of festivals in the south of France, joining us this evening, has written a book. We'll get to know more about that. Also, Murtaza Ali Khan, film critic, as always, smiles and ready to face the camera. Let me begin with you, Mr. Bhuvan Lal. How does one see the significance, the importance of film festivals in today's times?
Film industry globally celebrates cinema. Cinema of every country comes together to give a perspective of what the artistic capabilities of that nation is. And the film festivals, international film festivals, have now established themselves as venues where art, commerce and technology of cinema meets. To celebrate cinematic ability of individual directors, you need a film festival. Globally, we have now seen Cannes Film Festival, Venice Film Festival, Toronto Film Festival, Locarno Film Festival emerge, and Sundance Film Festival emerge as the global leaders in that space. India also has a film festival, and we'll talk about it. I personally feel for every filmmaker, a visit to a film festival is also important because it gives an opportunity for them to interact with filmmakers, people like themselves, people who are playing in the same space, who are working with sounds, images, words, and putting them together in a unique form and creating a new language. The film festivals unite the world. Cinema is the language of the world. In India, we have had a film festival called International Film Festival of India for many, many decades now. It was earlier a traveling film festival. Now it's stationed in Goa. And slowly and steadily, Goa has now emerged as a global standard film festival where filmmakers from all over the world are now coming here and showcasing their cinema. So Indian audiences get an opportunity to interact with them, learn how films are made, and see the best of the world's cinema in one given situation over a couple of weeks.
Okay. Murtaza, when one takes a look at film festivals, the charm that today filmmakers, for that matter, find it difficult to get audiences to the theaters in the post-COVID world. Do you see there is a big charm, especially for film festivals, that the world hosts, and also the one that is held by India?
I really feel that film festivals really serve as a bridge, and they bring the community together, they bring the cineasts together, and of course the filmmakers also join in, and a lot of professionals from the industry also come together. I was recently at the Berlinale, which is like one of the biggest film festivals in the world alongside Cannes, Venice and Toronto and others. What I realized was this festival is really a breeding ground to keep cinema alive. In many ways, in the recent years we have seen OTT taking over, we have seen new forms of entertainment taking over, which is actually killing the big screen viewing experience. But if you go to Berlin, or for that matter, any other festival, you see that the spirit, the good old spirit that is always associated with the idea of watching cinema in a darkened room with people, on the big screen. I think that really comes back to life. So that in a way works as this elixir to further spread the spirit of cinema, which I think is very important in a community sense of a way. You can't watch cinema in isolation. Yes, you can watch it technically, but then I don't really call it cinema. That is, something very different. So I think festivals have been able to keep the spirit alive, and now in the recent times, as Mr. Lal also put it very beautifully, that they have become this one-stop platform. There is this commerce element going on, there is entertainment, there are of course red carpets which often get a lot of buzz, but at the end of the day, film festival is all about a filmmaker. That is my personal belief. So films are the most important part of any film festival. The filmmakers are really the stars. For a change, often we have seen, we talk about actors, we really look up to them, and they become the reason why people want to see movies. But at the film festivals, the real star is really the filmmaker. I think that is something we celebrate at a film festival.
Dr. Lal, when one takes a look at, as Murtaza mentioned, film festivals are more than the red carpets that one would see.
Absolutely.
What are the other windows, especially for aspiring filmmakers who are watching the show, or for that matter, people who are interested in cinema? How does film festival help them, in pursuing their dreams?
See, film festival is much more than a costume parade. We have kind of highlighted that more than necessary. At a film festival, you get an opportunity not only to meet the filmmaker, most likely a scriptwriter, most likely a camera person, most likely people who have worked behind the scenes, and then a lot of actors. So if you're aspiring to be in the business of cinema, media and entertainment, it's a good opportunity to interact with them individually, learn from their journeys. And people have a fan base for certain filmmakers. You can go and meet them. You have access to them on a one-on-one basis. You can hear their interviews. You can sit with them. You can talk to them. All that comes on. And then at the big film festivals around the world, there is an element of distribution of cinema. So all the OTT platforms are represented there, talent agencies are represented there, distributors of cinema are represented there. So you understand how the business works. And the business side of the media industry, the film industry, is equally important. This is showbiz. If you take out the biz, then it will only be the show. So it's important to have the biz part. We are a technology-driven industry as a film industry. So the technology element kicks in. So the latest in projection, the latest in camera work, the latest in editing, this is also somehow and many times displayed. So the 8K technology, the IMAX camera, these are significant things in the future of cinema, and latest techniques in editing, in visual effects. You learn a whole gamut of things. It's an upgrade to the next level when you attend a film festival. It's a learning experience, very important for an aspiring filmmaker as well as a practitioner in the field, because this is such an intensive industry in which you get very few opportunities to learn the latest in techniques. Okay. What you learned 25 years ago has completely changed. So going to a film festival regularly upgrades you, updates your own software.
Murtaza, you've been to many film festivals. How does it help you grow as a film critic? When you attend these film festivals, you pick up some new trick every time. It's always a learning curve attending film festivals. How do you gain attending film festivals year after year? So
as I said, films are really the most important part of any film festival, and as you're watching more and more films, you get exposed to this entire canvas of world cinema that is at your disposal. Like recently at Goa, there was this beautiful retrospective, so I got to watch a very rare Paranija film, and that was Shadow of Forgotten Ancestors, and this is a film that I've been wanting to watch from a very long time, but that film is not easily accessible, and I also wanted to watch it on the big screen, so they brought in this restored version. And there was another example of Shatranj Se Khiladi, which was a restored version which was screened at Venice. Okay. So these films actually are treasures in themselves, and sometimes they're not easy to access, but when you go to these film festivals, you can easily access them. You can watch it on the big screen, because that's really is the purpose. Purpose is not just watching it on a smaller screen. You have to watch it in a cinema hall with the proper sound and the way the filmmaker wanted it to be shown. So that really is an immersive experience for a critic. So you get new dimensions of that film. As a writer, you understand that this medium is really a very, very complex medium. There is the element of sound, there is the element of picture, but at the same time, there is so much subtextual happening in that film. So, of course, there is this, connotative and denotative levels of understanding. So, you are enriched, your writings become better, and of course you get to interact with fellow critics, you get to meet so many wonderful filmmakers, and you also meet a lot of young audiences. I think that is very important. Something that I have realized as a critic, that you need to know your audience well, you need to know your readers well, you need to understand their aspirations and what they want from a critic. So unless you have that dialogue on a regular basis, and film festivals are really the perfect platform. A lot of people who read you get to meet them, then they tell you about certain things that they have been reading internationally, then you can draw comparisons between your writing and some of the other stuff that you have been reading, and that's also getting introduced to you through these people. So I think it's really a great learning experience at various levels.
Dr. Lal, when one takes a look at film festivals around the world, how would you see, everyone talks about the Cannes Film Festival, the Oscars, the Sundance Film Festival, purely in terms of the festival that India hosts now permanently at Goa. How do you see Indian Film Festival, over the years? How has it grown, and where, does it need to take it to the next level for it to be at least, considered to be one of the cream festivals that the world and the filmmakers would love to attend?
The Cannes Film Festival, the Venice Film Festival have been there for almost 80 years now.
True.
They have been at the same place, mostly with the same management, mostly with world-class directors who have access to all the filmmakers in the world, because they have developed these relationships over decades.
Okay.
So this is the basic requirement for a great film festival. The person running the show has to know, has to have the networking ability to have access to any film anywhere in the world that can be pre-made at that festival. And that is exactly what makes Cannes, Venice and some of these other festivals, including Berlin, global standard festivals, because they have the same management for many years. And now they have become one stop for a lot of filmmakers. They plan their films in such a way that they will show them and open them at Cannes or Berlin or in Toronto or in Venice. We haven't reached that stage as yet. We still don't have filmmakers working to open their films in Goa. In fact, all the films that are shown in Goa are sort of already screened in some festival or the other mostly. And then they have a competition attached to it. And there's a value to that competition.
Okay.
To win the top prize in Cannes opens doors to millions of dollars in funding of future films, in the release of that film, in the screening of that film around the world, the sales of that film, and the talent involved in that film. All of them have huge commercial prospects. In fact, a film which was shown last year in Cannes, won the top prize, went on to win the best film at the Oscars. So it's related. Here we haven't created that sort of synergy. The films that are screened in our festivals don't necessarily become commercial hits. Thirdly, the film festivals globally also have, besides all of this, a lot of razzmatazz of star power, global star power. So you have to attract that to create, in the Instagram world, in the social media world, you have to have that as a basic requirement. Unless you do that, you will not be able to do it. And lastly, the most important film person in the festival are not the stars, not the director of the festival, not the people behind the scenes, it's the filmmaker. So the respect for the filmmaker has to be huge to be able to attract, because he or she is the person who is creating a work which is attracting people to that festival.
True.
So that person has to be given that respect. So if we follow this formula, it's not very difficult. You will have a world-class festival in this country very soon.
Okay. Murtaza, when one takes a look at, big ticket films, say a Top Gun 2 that was released, that managed to premiere at the Cannes, you had Tom Cruise coming and a buzz all around it. In that scene today, do you see a changing perspective even with big filmmakers now getting attracted to film festivals and looking at a premiere there at a film festival rather than the theaters?
I really feel that film festivals are really making this new dimension possible, because pandemic was a time when this thought came to us that will cinema die? There was this debate out at large. That debate is still not done. We are still, talking about it. But at least with film festivals and, with examples like you just gave, or maybe a Martin Scorsese coming to Berlinale to receive the Lifetime Achievement Award, or the case of Tom Cruise coming to Cannes with Top Gun. I think these examples really allow us to continue this debate, because we know that, okay, there may be a possibility that we are finding ourselves at this crossroads, but cinema is very much alive and kicking. If some of the biggest filmmakers of the world, if they're coming to these film festivals, bringing their A-grade stuff, that means that there is a great requirement for this kind of an experience, because at the end of the day, a film festival is also a cinema carnival, wherein you have viewers coming, you have critics coming, you have distributors coming. So it's really like a carnival. And I really, I for one as a critic, really feel myself that I belong there. You feel that sense of aliveness. You sense that that sense of being revered, So I think cinema is very much alive. That is very much true. And the fact that these festivals are able to draw this kind of viewership, globally, whether I speak of, I'm not just talking about the American, cinema base. Let's also talk about IFFI, We were able to also bring, somebody like a Michael Douglas, and he received the Lifetime Achievement Award. So in many ways, IFFI also, gets a lot of eyeballs because of somebody like a Michael Douglas coming to the festival. I think in the past also we have had some big filmmakers coming to IFFI. So it's not that this was like a one-off thing, but I think this is a great precedent. So film festivals are really able to revive the spirit of cinema, which was really, finding itself at the crossroads, particularly during the few years of the pandemic, wherein we were thinking that, oh my God, will OTT completely take over? But at IFFI, the beautiful thing is that even OTT has now become a part of the festival. So we have an OTT award also. So instead of these different mediums competing, we have created this sort of an ecosystem where we are celebrating cinema in its conventional form. We are also celebrating the long form, which is the OTT, and we are also having these master classes. We are also having these awards. So I think this is really a continuum. This is really taking us to the next level. As Mr. Lal also beautifully pointed out, there is a long way to go for IFFI, and for a lot of other festivals to maybe become the cream of the cream. But I think we have set the path. We have really, started taking these big initiatives, and I really hope that in the coming years we'll be, attaining this maybe to be in the top 5, if not say in the top 3.
Dr. Lal, do you see the entry of OTT, especially the film festival that we did in Goa? FADA came with their new season there, that was premiere there. Does it change the way, now even OTT stars are on par with the Hollywood and Bollywood stars that, walk the red carpet, especially in film festivals?
The streaming platforms are a great media. It creates an opportunity for also, lesser known filmmakers, artistic cinema, and new talent to come on board. So it's a natural fit with the film festival. I don't see the platforms and the streaming series and stuff, web series, as separate from being proper cinema that is only seen in big cinema halls. They should all be embraced. They are using the same techniques. Their storytelling is very much in line with artistic cinema globally, and some of the best films being made in the world today are on OTT platforms. So you have to combine them. For FADA to use that opportunity in Goa to promote themselves is an excellent way of going forward. That's how you break into a market. That's how you do things. If you bring a new series, use a film festival to bring that film or that TV series into India or promote it globally, wherever. So that's a good start. In the future, there'll be a lot of investment in the streaming platforms. And with that kind of money, we can take a lot of content from the streaming platforms onto the festivals and find a way for the film festivals to be financially even more viable. So these are all very good things.
Murtuza, Indian storytelling, has been for long praised even by Hollywood writers, Hollywood filmmakers. Do you somewhere get the sense now with the success of, RRR and other movies slowly making a buzz, able to create, or for the matter Slumdog Millionaire success, Jai Ho, at any point of time you hear anywhere where film festivals are played. Do you get the sense that, our movies, our storytelling has slowly, caught the world's, fascination?
See, there was always a great demand for Indian stories, globally. Whether I take you back to the Mother India days, or, I take you back to Salam Namaste days, there was always this fascination. But what happened was that there was this phase, in which a lot of Bollywood filmmakers, I won't say Indian filmmakers, a lot of, these Bollywood filmmakers, they were mostly interested in remaking a lot of films that were coming from the West, sometimes South Korean thrillers. So I think that realization has now come in, especially with the success of Bahubali, especially with the success of RRR. This realization has now come in that if we really want to make films that are truly global in India, then they have to be hardcore Indian stories. And I think Parasite was really an eye-opener. A lot of people realize that, if you make a true story, which is very, very indigenous, as they say, local is the new global. So if you really focus on India, and if you really show India that has not been seen before in a global perspective, I think that is something that will have many takers. RRR proved that, Parasite proved it earlier. I think that is really the way forward. If we really want to show India, let's show it in a complete wholesome sense. Let's let them get a sneak peek of what they have not seen ever before. Let's make a film that's truly Indian, because there's so much, there is great Indian philosophy, we have our scriptures, we have so many great wonderful stories in our folklore. So take the case of Tumbar, a film like that, who would have thought that a film like this would come out and would completely take everybody by surprise? If you really want to take Indian stories in a global sense of a way forward, then you have to be true to Indian philosophy, Indian ideology, Indian storytelling, instead of trying to imitate the West.
Okay, Dr. Lal, there is a lot of craze with regards to James Bond movies, and all that revolves around it. Do you somewhere get the feel now that Indian movies, Indian storytelling has been appreciated, and India as a content hub that's been spoken about very highly? Do you get the time or get the scene or the sense somewhere that a day is not far when a James Bond entire film could be shot in India?
Most certainly. I mean, that's not even a question now. But just to give it a different kind of perspective, Indian cinema and Indian media industry, entertainment industry is a global superpower by itself.
True.
The soft power capability of India through its cinema is immense. And our country is not even scratching the surface of it as yet. We can go miles and miles with this. The star power that we have created in this country with our superstars is unbelievable. Only Hollywood has that around the world. So if you go to certain countries in the Middle East, if you go to the SAARC region, if you go many parts of the world, you will find that we are actually edging out even Hollywood in terms of stardom. We have an opportunity here, which is so unique that it will take several other countries hundreds of years to get to create the voice of India. Bharat ki Awaaz across the world. Some of our stories have traveled abroad, some of our films have done well, but this is just scratching the surface. We have an opportunity which we should certainly exercise our energies in. We should build on this. We should use film festivals to promote it, and our own festival globally. When we attend festivals, we should promote the soft power of India.
Murtaza, when one takes a look at just taking that thought forward, on the soft power that cinema holds, a reflection of what the society is, do you somewhere get the sense, especially when you look at, the festivals that are currently being held, there is a lot more dash of Hindi cinema, that's overtaking, the entire festival or the films that revolve around the festival, and somewhere some deserving filmmaker, maybe a Goan filmmaker, a filmmaker in the Northeast, or a filmmaker even from Jammu, losing an opportunity or getting an equal footing, especially to show his film, maybe not getting a theatre release, but getting at least a premiere there in one of those film festivals.
Before coming to that, I just want to add a little perspective from the point of view of the historical, quality of Indian films in a global sense of a way. To add to what Dr. Lal said about India's soft power, let's go back to, the good old days of Raj Kapoor, and there's a film called Awara. True. There's a film called Sangam. In fact, particularly if you look at Awara's song, Main Awara Hoon, it's been a global anthem, in so many of these countries, in Russia, of course, in Turkey, in whole of Central Asia, in China, in the Far East, everywhere, there's like a national anthem, and it has been translated into so many of the different languages in these regions. So that proves that Indian cinema soft power is really unparalleled, and I think it's only can be compared to Hollywood's soft power. So if you look at the global arena, and if we talk of cinema, and if you talk about the soft power, then only two things come to mind. One is of course Hollywood, and then of course is Bollywood. And coming to your question of regional cinema, regional filmmakers somewhat getting sidelined by Bollywood, I think now we have corrected that considerably. Especially if you look at the Indian Panorama section in the Goa Film Festival, which is IFFI. I am a huge fan of Indian Panorama section, and over the years I have done very many stories highlighting the different kinds of regional appeal that you get to see at the Indian Panorama. You get to see a beautiful Ladakhi language film, you get to see rare languages films. Some of the films come from Northeast. There are so many wonderful films that come from down south. I have watched some amazing Marathi films, and even if I talk about the north, the Pahari languages films, I've seen Avdi languages film, I've seen the Sanskrit language film. So I think that is now changing, but of course we have to be very conscious about it, because sometimes it is very easy, we talked about star power. So it's very easy that the star power can seduce, the festival, people who are running the festival, and they may get a little carried away with the star power, because you have to understand that at the end of the day, the star at a film festival has to be a filmmaker, but there's a lot more way to go, and we need to work towards that.
Okay, a lot more way to go. Mr. Lal, you've got a festival going yourself called Nirvana in the south of France. What's the idea behind the festival? What's the connect that you see between India and France when you host a festival there?
So, a couple of things there. One, it's not only a film festival, it's a cultural film festival. So we have culture and cinema. Last year we screened 7 films. This year we have already announced 3 films. It's a whole gamut of Indian cinema filmmakers coming there, discussing about their works, showcasing it in France. The place that we have chosen to host the festival is Saint-Tropez, which is in south of France. We are taking Indian cinema to a completely different audience. And specifically, Saint-Tropez has one unique quality. It is a place where a lot of influencers are present. Influencers who will watch our cinema, see our culture, be influenced hopefully by it, and take it to the next level within Europe.
Okay. Wishing you all luck for your second edition of the festival. Wishing you luck, Murtuza, enjoying more cinema, reviewing more cinema for us, because it makes a lot more pleasure reading those copies for us, because that's where you get the idea whether to watch the cinema or not in the first place. Thank you both gentlemen for taking time out to being with us on this special edition of Behind the Scenes of Film Festival. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to be back with another filmmaker next time. Till then, goodbye. Take care.